KBDCraft Store has just released the next colourway for their Adam keyboard, and while they're at it, they've done an update to address some of the issues with the first release, and they've also added a couple of niceties. In this video, we're going to build the updated kit Adam, which KBDCraft Store were good enough to send over for a review. Check out the affiliate links and discount codes in the description, one of which is for 5% off on the KBDCraft Store website. So in the box I have the full kit Adam in the new grey colourway. The full kit is comprised of the case Adam, which is basically the Lego set to make the case. Then we have the Core 64, which is the module kit. We also have the stabilizers, the rubber feet, the switches, the keycaps, and you get free case dampening, but I think this is just a promotion as they are listed as an extra on the website for $4.61. They also sent me the new wrist rests, which you build into the case Adam, and they included some small figures. You get one figure free when you spend less than $60, so basically when you buy the base kit, and you get two free when you spend more than $60, so when you buy the full kit. Now let's get into the build, and the first thing is to build the module, the Core 64. I recommend doing this in the following steps. Step 1, install 4 switches into the plate near the corners, checking the metal pins are straight as you go, then land the plate face down on the desk. Step 2, lay the plate foam dampening pad on the plate and make sure it's lined up. Step 3, carefully line up the PCB with the switches installed in the plate and land it off, ensuring the switches seat in the sockets on the PCB correctly. At this point the module is secured, and I recommend doing it in the above steps as the switches are a tight fit in the plate and the plate flexes, making it a fiddly job if you use the normal method, which is basically to stack the module then install the switches from the top after. Step 4, install the stabilizers, which brings me on to the first update. The stabilizers are now pre-assembled and with a small amount of pre-lube, whereas in the first iteration the stabilizers were not assembled or lubed. Step 5, install the rest of the switches. The switches are a pretty decent set of 40-gram box linears with a 3.6mm travel, and they come pre-lubed. Take care while installing the switches. Several of the metal pins on my switches were bent and needed straightening before installation. Also, while installing the switches, some of them felt like they had landed off completely on the PCB, but weren't actually fully clipped in on the plate. Just keep an eye on the bottom edge of the switches to make sure they seat fully. Step 6, and the final step in assembling the Core 64, is to install the keycaps. The set included with the full kit is a TKL set with an OEM profile. With the Core 64 assembled, we can move on to building the case. I have the wrist rests which I need to build into the case Adam, so I built these first. These are a really quick 5-minute job. Before moving on to the case build, I sorted the Lego pieces into the different types to speed up the build. I recommend doing this as on each step in the build instructions it tells you which pieces you need, and if they're organised it makes it much quicker to find the pieces you need for each step. Now let's get onto the case build. I stuck the rubber feet on first, mainly to stop it sliding around on the desk during the build so as I could record it. Then it's just a case of following the instructions. The first milestone is to build the case up to the point where you've installed the gaskets. At this point you need to install the module before carrying on with the case build, but it was also the point at which I remembered I needed to install the wrist rests. My kit only included 2 sets of instructions, the Adam case assembly guide and the wrist rest assembly guide. There are instructions on the KBDCraft Store website for installing the wrist rests, which I've linked up below, but I just did this the best way I could see. I wanted the wrist rests as wide as possible, so I installed them as close to the sides as possible, then improvised with the Lego pieces I had. You get a bunch of extra place with the wrist rests for this step. Once those were installed I could finish the case build, and it was once I was done that I realised I forgot the case dampening. I wanted to include the dampening for this video as I wanted to build it with everything included in the box for a stock typing test. If you do the same as me and forget this, it's fine, you just need to take out a few pieces to allow you to lift out the module again. The case dampening is provided as 12 small squares. You need to pop out the holes as it's perforated to sit over the studs in the bottom case. With those in, I could complete the build and we're ready for the typing test. So let's finish on my thoughts. I was really impressed with the first version of the full Adam kit, even though I found a few bits which needed improvement. I'm really happy that they addressed most of these issues with this update, and I like the extra bits included in the kit and available as extras on the website. The first improvement is the inclusion of rubber feet to stop it sliding around on the desk. This really was a desperately needed addition, as the Adam is pretty light when built and so is even more likely to slide around without rubber feet. The next improvement was to send out stabilizers assembled and prelubed. In previous versions you got the stabilizers in parts and without prelube, and both options are available on the website as extras now. For me, the JWK set, which is the new pre-assembled and prelube set, need more prelube. They were still pretty rattly, as you will have heard in the typing test just now, and if you're going to prelube for those who don't want to mod, then it needs to be a decent job. For me, I'd go with the original set which comes without prelube, as this allows you to do the holy mod without having to clean the stems first. The next improvement was the inclusion of the case dampening, which is great. The only thing left on the dampening front is a switch mat. With this you have a full set to play with, and the switch mat is one of my favourites, so I'd be really thrilled to see that included in the next version of this kit. Then we had some freebies and optional extras. You get those figures free depending on how much you spend, which is fun, and the wrist rests, which cost just $10 for a set of 2. They're actually pretty usable wrist rests, to be honest. It's a little narrow for me as I have broad shoulders, but they definitely aren't just for show, as they're actually pretty ergonomic. Once installed, they are quick release and can be pulled off without disassembly, just leaving these pieces left on the case. I remain very impressed with the Adam keyboard. It's a novel keyboard being made from Lego, but it's very usable due to the OEM profile keycaps. The pour on gaskets and POM plate makes for more gasket movement than you would expect, and it still has that trademark poppy sound of Lego bricks being clipped together. They've really hit most of the list of improvements I mentioned in my last video and the list of improvements that most reviewers mentioned, with the only notable exception being the typing angle. The rubber feet are all the same thickness, so the keyboard doesn't yet have the positive typing angle it needs. I do think it would benefit from some mods, which I'll go into in another video. Other than that, I really love it. Don't forget to grab some discount using my affiliate link or discount code below, and I'll catch you in the next one.